begin with, you're going to create a new design. Click Create and 3D Design. You're going to want to make sure you have your plate, your work plane set up. Down in Settings, click on Settings, and for this project we want to convert it to inches. That's the imperial system. We'll make our work plane plate about 4 inches. So I'll delete that, make it 4 inches, and make the other one 4 inches. So 4 inches wide, 4 inches long, and you can leave the rest of them the way they are. Snap grid to 1/8 of an inch. That allows you to move your project, move your pieces around by 1/8 of an inch at a time. For example, if I put this block on this plane and I move it, it jumps 1/8 of an inch. If I change that setting to something bigger, like 1/2 of an inch, every time it moves, it'll jump 1/2 of an inch. 1/8 of an inch is fine. You could even go down to 1/16 of an inch if you'd like. I would set mine to 1/16 of an inch. Now you're ready to start designing your keychain. So we're going to create a name tag for you to 3D print. I'm going to start off by dragging a box down here. You've seen how to do all this in the previous videos. Your name tag can be no larger than 3 inches by 1 inch, and the height cannot be bigger than 3/16. 0.187. This is the largest it can be. I'm going to lay this right here next to it so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that and bring it down here. I'll change this to another color just so I know that's the one that I've got to work within. There's a few things you can do to your name tag. First of all, you could change the edges of it, you could change the corners of it, you could put your name on it, you could put some designs on it, but remember it's going to be printing in 3D, so it can't have anything sticking up from the side view of it. It can have your name sticking up, but it can't have like any loops. Let me give you an example. I want to put a little gear towards the end of mine, so I'm going to go over here to these shapes and I'm going to type gear. And let's see what we find. Here's some different gears right there. I'm going to grab this gear and drag it out on the table. Now remember, this was 1 inch by 1 inch tall. Oh, I didn't drag it onto the table. Let's delete and start that over again, drag it onto the table. There we go. See, now it's on the table. So I'm going to click on the size of this. I want it to be exactly 1 inch. I'll hit the tab key, 1 inch, and it's now the same size as this. So if I put it right up to the edge of that, you can see it fits on there perfectly. I just want it to hang off of it halfway. And there we go. I want it to be the same height as the other one. So I'm actually going to make this one 1/8 of an inch and make this 1/8 of an inch as well. It's a little bit skinnier than this other piece. You also remember from previous videos that if you grab both pieces, this one, and group them together, now they become one piece. Clearly this is too long to fit inside of here, so I am going to shorten it up a little bit. There's different ways you can shorten it up. You could just drag this if you wanted to, but that distorts the view of this. Undo. You could also come over here and add another block to it, wherever you want that block to be. And make that hollow, make it a hole. Once again, group the two together, and it takes care of it. I didn't make it the right size. Let's undo. Let's make it a little bit bigger so it doesn't matter. And now this piece would fit inside of there. I'm going to add some letters, my name, to it. I'll just add some initials, drag this out, put it right on top of that box, and in the box that pops up, we want to write our text. Mr. B. Clearly this is too big, so we'll resize it down to where we want it. Now, if you look at it from the side, we would be breaking our rules because we can't have it this tall for the 3D printer. So I would have to lower this down. If you remember, this one is 3/16 of an inch. This one right here is 1/8 of an inch, so I can go one more 16th. So 2/16 here, and then the third 16th up there. That is one way you could do your letters. I could come back here and group them all together, and now it's a solid piece. Or with your letters, you can make them a whole. So I'm going to make them a little bit larger again. I'm going to make them a whole. And then I can just push it down a tiny bit. Push it down 1/16 of an inch. Now we've engraved this as I group it, and you can see it's cut out of the design. So you could have your letters raised up a little bit. You could have them sunken down into it a little bit. I'm going to back up one more time, and I could have my letters go all the way through. So if I push this down further, you can see my letters are going all the way through. Now if I group the two together, it's cut completely out and I can see through. This is another fantastic design, with one exception. If we 3D print this part of the B and this part of the B will fall out of the design. So there'll be nothing there to hold it. There are ways you can get creative to hold it in place, like a stencil. So if I grab this block and I make it a lot smaller, one-eighth of an inch thick, I'm going to make it a lot smaller like this. So now it's just a little piece of block. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to drag it right over that B. Can you see how it's connecting the whole name tag to the center piece? Let's just nudge it down a little bit. I'll bring the other one up top and do the same thing. Now when I group everything together, my B looks like a stencil. Personally, I don't think that is the greatest look, but if that's the design you're looking for, that would work. The last thing you have to do before you turn this in is put a hole in it. It is a keychain, so we need a hole somewhere up in the top corner or over on the side. That hole has to be 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. 0.25 by 0.25. There is the hole that we're going to put into this. Let me press on the center button of my mouse, the wheel, and drag it over so it's right on top of it. Now I can see where I'm placing that. I don't want it right against the edge or it'll break out of the edge of the plastic. So I'll go over one and over one. That is 1/8 of an inch and 1/8 of an inch. Once again, remember this is a solid right now. I need to make it a hole, and I need to group it with my piece. There is my keychain. I can double check. Does it still fit in there? Yes, it does. Is it still the right size? Yes, it is. It's bigger. It's 1/8 of an inch thick, so it's less than 3/16. That's part of the requirements. And there is my finished keychain. You can add other designs to it. I could put a star on top of it. Definitely have to change the size of that star. And I could do something like that. But now it's sticking up too high. We would have to change that star and make it a lot thinner, where it only sticks up a little bit like that. I'm not going to do that to my design, so I'm going to delete that. And there is my finished keychain. I could now throw that away if I wanted to. Complete. Name this your class. So period, whatever period you're in, and your last name. Once you're finished with your keychain, you're going to be sending it to me through Canvas to be 3D printed. To 3D print the keychain, you have to export it as an STL file. Export it as an STL file. What that did was it downloaded it as last name .stl. So make sure that you've named it correctly first, then .stl. Then you'll be turning that STL file into me in Canvas. That way I can send it to the 3D printer.